Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajanaranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajanaranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajanaranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Sila Prabhupada 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 Sila Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gauda Premanandi Hari 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 Bol Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome so much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being present. Thank you for your persistence, your perseverance, your dedication, your devotion, regularly showing up here in this Zoom space for hearing from the Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. This makes all of you glorious and exalted personalities. So offering my deep respects to each and every one of you. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing the reading from the Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, this most exalted scripture, the place where Lord Krishna went to after disappearing from this mortal world, so we can worship the Srimad Bhagavatam as a deity of the Supreme Lord, personally present in each and every page, as translated from the heart of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Before I begin, I would like to seek blessings from all of the assembled Vaishnavas that you see fit to bestow your mercy upon me so that I could speak something relevant and bona fide from the pages of this most exalted scripture. Only by the mercy of Vaishnavas is anything possible, so I am therefore seeking your blessings. Hare Krishna. So, reading from the 11th canto, and the 11th canto is entitled General History. And we are reading from the 3rd chapter, and chapter 3 is entitled Liberation from the Illusory Energy. And today we are reading text number 7. So we'll start with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Itam karma gatir gacham bhava badra vahapuman abhuta samplavat sarga palaya vashnute vasaha. Word for word translation. Itam, in this way. Karma gatihi, the destinations determined by his past activities. Gachan, obtaining. Bahu abhadra, much that is inauspicious. Baha, which involve. Puman, the living being. Abhuta samplavat, until the dissolution of the created universe. Sarga pralaya, birth and death. Ashnute, he experiences. Avashaha, helplessly. Translation and purport by the surrendered servants and disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus, the conditioned living entity is forced to experience repeated birth and death, impelled by the reactions of his own activities. He helplessly wanders from one inauspicious situation to another, suffering from the moment of creation until the time of cosmic annihilation. Purport. According to Srila Madhvacharya, after hearing that the living entity is repeatedly subjected to birth and death within the material world, if one still considers such a helpless entity equal to God in all respects, one will surely fall into the darkest regions of the universe, from which it is difficult to rise. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Verse again. Itam karma gatir gachan baba bhadra vaha puman ad bhutav samplavat sarga palayav ashnute vasaha ashaha. Thus, the conditioned living entity is forced to experience repeated birth and death. Impelled by the reactions of his own activities, he helplessly wanders from one inauspicious situation to another, suffering from the moment of creation until the time of cosmic annihilation. So, Hare Krishna, we are seeking the blessings of Arjuna Prabhu, who is here present in the temple room. Thank you for being here, Prabhu, and welcome back again. So we have to refer to the previous verse because this verse is a response to that, beginning with the words thus. So thus, the conditioned living entity. So let's just have a little gander at the previous verse, which all of you will remember very well from yesterday. Impelled by deep-rooted material desires, the embodied living entity engages his active sense organs in fruitive activities. He then experiences the results of his material actions by wandering throughout this world in so-called happiness and distress. It was very valuable that the purport to this verse yesterday discussed in depth the principle of free will and how, although we may make a decision to act inappropriately and we may be bound by the reactions of that decision, still it doesn't mean that we don't have any free will. We still have free will to make choices, even in the space of suffering the reactions or enjoying the reactions of said activities. And in the commentary and the purport, it was stated the analogy of the example of flying on an airplane, that once you book the ticket to go to X, Y, and Z place, then you're on the plane and that's it. You're not really going to go anywhere else. But while you're on the plane, you can make a decision to get up and walk around, to go to sleep, to read a book, to watch a movie, to eat or not eat, to do whatever you like on the plane. And as Prabhupada said, as the disciples of Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, also that if you decide to commit some other unlawful activity on the plane, which is according to your free will, then you might be arrested when you get off the plane. And or if you decide to make a connection with a businessman on the plane and start to do some networking, then when you land on the other side, you've made a great contact, and who knows, your business may flourish. So free will does not cease to exist simply because we become embodied or conditioned by the laws of karma. So in this situation, and we can understand that it's very important to recognize that it is the continued choice and use of our free will properly that will help to disentangle us from the karmic reactions that we may be experiencing, suffering, or enjoying. And this is the nature of the material world. There was one good friend of mine in London. Whenever I would ask him how I was, he said, oh, suffering and enjoying. That's the nature of the material world. So we're all going through some experiences of suffering and enjoying. In today's verse, it explains that the conditioned living entity, in most cases, at least that's definitely me, the conditioned living entity, conditioned by the modes of material nature. And we discussed this the other day when I gave class, how these modes of material nature are working on us, how the supersoul is permitting, how the modes of material nature are facilitating and generating the activity. But all of this is manifesting from our desires. So really the root cause is coming from our desires, and we have to therefore be very, very careful, as they say, what you wish for. One senior devotee once shared, I was talking and I said, something, I used to get headaches, and I said, yeah, they said, you have to drink more water. And I said, I hate drinking water. I wish I could get water into my system without having to drink it. And she said, oh, be careful what you wish for, because if you get admitted to the hospital, they'll pump water into your body and you don't have to drink it at all. And I thought, oh, wow. And so sometimes we can make some statement with the voice, Vak. We make some statement, and the super soul may hear that and fulfill that desire. And then we're wondering, well, why did this happen to me? Well, anyway, you got your desire fulfilled. You don't have to drink water anymore because it's being pumped into your system. So like this, the material world is such a place that it is danger at every step. And sometimes the simplest slip, the slip of the lip, loose lips sink ships, So the simplest slip of the lip may cause sometimes the most radical situations to occur. And we think, geez, where did that come from? But this is the nature of the material world. And this section, we have to remember, is also coming about because of the desire of King Nimi to understand the Lord's external energy. What is this Maya? And how is this Maya working? And we can understand that Maya in general has two functions. And what are those functions? One is to pull us down and to cover us over. So she is perpetually trying to sink us and submerge us into her material energy. So much so that we get completely absorbed. I was hearing a lecture the other day, and devotee was sharing from a Puranic pastime of one sadhu who was performing some austerities, and his desire was actually to become free from the material energy, but somehow he became a little proud, and through his austerities, actually, yes. Again, Lord Indra decided to send a very beautiful Apsara to challenge and test him. And of course, when that Apsara showed up, he wasn't so strong. And so he became enamored and immediately desired to, be with her, have union with her and marry her. And so he did this. And then, after a little while, he got up and he took his gamsha and his kamandalu, and he began to leave. And she said, where are you going? And he said, well, it's time for, the Sandhya Arti. So I'm going to the river to have my bath, chant my Gayatri, and then I'll be back. And she said, well, why are you doing that? You haven't done that in 1,000 years. And he said, what do you mean 1,000 years? I just met you earlier today. And she said, no, my dear sir. And she explained to him, look how much time has passed being bewildered by the material energy. And he realized that, oh my God, actually, so much time has passed, whatever it was, the equivalent of like 6 months in the heavenly kingdom, but in the material world, so much time had passed. So it's like this in the material energy. It's easy for the material energy, in one sense, to submerge us and cover us over. Another lecture I was hearing, devotee was sharing a statement, and the statement is that basically, in one sense, it's so easy to achieve liberation from the material energy. Srila Prabhupada gave us the process following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is simply Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam Kalal Nashteva 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 Gatiranyata, that we simply have to chant the holy names of the Lord and we become free from the material energy. But even though in one sense it's so easy, going to hell is actually very difficult. We have to spend so much money, do so many things, but yet we see people are spending lavishly so much money and spending so much time doing horrendous things that are basically going to seal their doom, which is similar to what Madhvacharya mentions here in the purport. So this material energy is pulling us down and covering us over and making us think that actually I'm really happy in this material world. Indrajumna Maharaj once was giving a talk, and as he was speaking about the modes of material nature, I may have told this story before, while I was speaking about the modes of material nature, outside we could hear a motorcycle pull up outside the building. And it was, grumbling. So you could tell what kind of motorcycle it was. It was most likely a Harley Davidson. They have a distinct sound frequency that emanate from them, and generally a certain type of person. So Maharaj started to describe the person likely sitting on that Harley Davidson. And he said he probably has like a big beard and long hair, straggly hair. He probably has wearing a leather jacket and leather trousers, leather pants, and he probably has some bones around his neck and hanging off of this thing. And he's probably, some ruffian looking, and probably hasn't bathed in a while. And he's sitting on this loud machine, and he is thinking that he is so cool. And he's thinking, I'm so cool. This situation is so great. And, isn't this wonderful? I'm just enjoying like anything. And then Maharaj said, but he doesn't realize that actually he is being tortured. He's covered in dead animal skins. He's covered in animal bones. He's like got smelly hair and like BO, and he's sitting on this machine that is so loud, it's like deafening to us inside of a building, what to speak of the person sitting on it. So the modes of material nature are actually torturing this person, and this person thinks, isn't this so cool? Another time someone was explaining the principle of ingesting intoxicants usually is a torturous exercise. In that literally you're pouring poison into your system to make you feel good, to make you feel high, or you're breathing smoke. Generally, you get out of a building that's on fire so that you don't die from smoke inhalation. And here we are lighting something on fire and inhaling it into our lungs so we can feel good. If you really analyze this, it's preposterous. And you think, my God, why do people do that? And generally people do it because they want to escape from something in the material world, escape from some sufferings. So this principle of the material energy is so strong that it covers us over and makes us think we're actually enjoying when we're basically suffering and being subjected to torturous situations. Of course, once we wake up a little bit from this situation, we begin to see the material world for what it is. And we're basically trying our best to become free, but we see even in our efforts and endeavors still the living entity who is struggling so hard with the material senses and the mind to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, still we experience some apparent sufferings from the material energy. And, we may be wondering, why, Krishna? I'm doing so many things to try to serve you, but here it is again. And we see that the material energy is actually trying to drag us down and cover us over, but the material energy is also giving us perpetual opportunities for taking shelter of Krishna. Because when things are going good, the general propensity and tendency is that we do not take so much shelter of Krishna. We start to feel proud of our own capacity, our own abilities, so many different things like that. But when times get tough, immediately these two hands come together in the posture for offering prayers, and we're like, dear Lord, please help me. So the same Queen Kunti is stating that, bewildered by material opulence, we forget you. But when there are calamities, when there are difficulties, we remember you. So therefore, we should pray for calamities. Well, we shouldn't pray. They come whether we pray for them or not. We don't need to pray for them. Queen Kunti is on a very advanced platform like this. So therefore, there's a statement that says that we should never make a promise when we're happy, and we should never make a decision when we're sad, because we may be elated and bewildered by the material energy, thinking that, oh yeah, everything's great right this moment. We should find ourselves in a balanced space and neutral position in order to make these forward decisions. So the nature of free will and Maya, the material energy, is such that the decisions we make will condition us to make similar decisions again. With each decision, there are seeds that are planted, some beej, karma beej, and they fructify, or they don't fructify, and they lie dormant. And their dormant nature creates I think, a kutam, an inclination to act in a certain way. So this is the power and potency of actions, that we think I can do an action in isolation and it not have a reaction on me. But those reactions may just be lying there dormant, waiting to spring up later. And then we wonder, where did that come from? Well, it came from 10 years ago when X, Y, and Z happened. And now all of a sudden, boom, there it is. Thank you very much. So how do we deal with it? That's the question. How do we deal with these things? Tatenu kampam susamikshimano, that we know Bhagavatam explains that that we have to endure these reactions and try to see the Lord's hand, try to see that the Lord is actually personally administering these tests to us. The material energy is facilitating an opportunity for us to make a decision to utilize our free will in the proper way. And as soon as we make that decision, and we have to be constantly making that decision, because actually at every moment is the opportunity for making a new decision, or a new opportunity for the creation of an inclination to do the right thing. So this is why each day we have to really become conscientious of what we're confronted by. I'm listening to Radhanath Maharaj's audio book, The Journey Home. I started that just before his Vyas Puja Day, and it's just so exciting and exhilarating. But as I'm listening, as I'm listening, I'm present to the fact that Maharaj is perpetually confronted by opportunities to make a decision, or to react in a certain way. And it's incredible how he chooses to react or respond to these situations when most people would choose to react or respond probably in a very different way. And this is what sets apart someone who is a saintly person or a sadhu from someone who continues to remain a conditioned living entity. It's these conscious choices of free will that enable us to actually become disentangled in the material energy. Of course, is how do we make these decisions? Because we follow in the footsteps of saintly persons. We're following in the footsteps of saintly persons and who are ultimately following the guidance of Super Soul, the guidance of Krishna. And so in this way, we actually can become disentangled from material energy. But again, bringing it back to our consciousness and our desires and what's the evam bude param budva samstabhyatmanam jahishatram mahabaho kamarupam darasadam. This formidable enemy of lust can be conquered by our evam bude param budva, by using superior intelligence to control the mind and make proper decisions. So free will is still there. We're conditioned in the material world, but we undo that conditioning by making conscious decisions to place ourselves under the protection, under the shelter of the Supreme Lord, begging for mercy, understanding that we are certainly conditioned souls. And the last point I just wanted to make, I know we're getting late, was just on this point of Madhvacharya and his statement, which may seem a little out of context. But it's interesting because Madhvacharya, we have to remember, Madhvacharya is also the head, not the head of our sampradaya, but our sampradaya acharya. We are Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnav. So Madhvacharya, he was very, very strict at always doing two. Basically, that there is the Lord and there is the living entity. There is not just one. So he was always stressing on the individuality, the independence between these two. So here we see Madhvacharya, he's making a point that if after hearing how conditioned the living entity is, and how the living entity becomes overwhelmed by the material energy, if one actually still thinks that this helpless entity can be God or is equal to God in all respects, then one surely falls into the darkest regions of the universe from which it is difficult to rise. So basically, if you're that person, but even if you think it's possible to be like that, then you're basically going to suffer. And it was reminding me of some verses I was reading this morning from the Bhagavatam Rita, very beautiful book, reading with some devotees in volume 2. And we're at the section where Gopakumar is in the presence of Sadashiv and Durgama, and Ganesh kind of takes him to the side and starts to instruct him. And in the process of that, he sees these Vaikuntha entities who are like the Sankirtan devotees descending from the spiritual world, and the 4 Kumars are with them. And Ganesh is explaining this scene and talking about also the 4 Kumars and how they live on top of Loka and how exalted they are and how they've just been to the spiritual world to see the Supreme Lord, and how at one point they were also impersonalists, but their senses had been lit up. And in the commentary there, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he gives a few verses where he's explaining that about people who feel that oneness of mukti is the highest. So the first one is from the Yoga Vasishta Ramayan, where it says, an ignorant, half-awake person who likes to say everything is Brahman earns by this entanglement in a network of terrible hells. So one who thinks everything is Brahman, we're all Brahman, we all become one with the Lord, then he winds up entangling himself in a network of hells. The next one is a person full of attachment for sense gratification who likes to say, I am Brahman, will burn in hell for billions of kalpas. So can see there's not a lot of positive stuff happening for persons like this. And the last one from another Purana is a person stuck in worldly enjoyment who says, I am Brahman, has fallen both from Vedic duties and from Brahman realization. He should be rejected like an outcast. So this is the thoughts and perspective of the scripture coming through Srila Sanatana Goswami and corroborating what Srila Madhvacharya is saying, which is that it is foolish to think that a simple living entity conditioned by the modes of material nature is one with, in all respects, and equal to God. So like that. Anyway, last point. I will finish there. Otherwise, I could just continue to ramble. If anyone has any comments, questions, thoughts, chastisements, corrections.
Appreciations.
No appreciations, please. Except for Krishna Prabhupada.
Thank you, Jai Nitai. Wonderful class. A quick follow-up. You were describing this vicious cycle of conditioning. When you take the wrong decision and it conditions you to making further decisions in that same vein.
Yes.
And the question is there a samskara or some ritual of breaking the cycle? Maybe, giving yourself a buzz cut or burning your cell phone or quitting the job, or I don't know. Is there any ritual to help break the cycle of bad decisions, life after life, day after day?
That is a great question. Thank you, Prue. Yeah, there is a ritual. I can perform that for you. It's a very small price. Just we can talk offline. Let me know. I'll come around your house, sort you out. No problem. If it's for you, I'm sure it's not for you. It must be for someone else. No, the ritual is it's a secret, so everyone else is muted, so they can't hear it. So the ritual is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Bo. We have just broken the cycle of repeated birth and death simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And actually, again, in Bhagavatam reading, we were just hearing, and Sanatana Goswami Pad was clarifying that actually the Lord is so kind that he sends his representatives from the spiritual world into the material world to liberate them. And who are they liberating? Even those who've only chanted the holy names once. And then the example is given of, I always forget his name, Ambarish, not Ambarish, begins with an A, from Sixth Kent. Ajamil, yeah. I forgot it the other day we were talking. Ajamil. So the pastime of Ajamil. So all we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. It's really simple. We don't have to spend a lot of money. If you want to, no problem. I can come around and light something on fire and chant some mantras for you. But really, the Yuga Dharma is to chant Hare Krishna, and that's the process for the given age.
So thank you. It was, I shouldn't look further in my own bead bag.
But it probably wouldn't hurt some of us to light our phones on fire, actually.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anything else? Otherwise, I just saw a little love heart come up from Jamuna Jai Devi, and I wanted to glorify her. Yesterday, we had a little Christmas party here, and she gave an amazing talk. I was so inspired. Like all I could think about this morning when I woke up was Ebenezer Scrooge, and how the pastime of Scrooge and A Christmas Carol is so filled with bhakti and lessons, and how I think it's just so amazing how we can see that Krishna bhakti is permeating everything. Once we come to Krishna consciousness, we can really see how everything is kind of linked to the Vedic culture and Vedic teaching. So he had such an immense transformation, but it took 3 ghosts coming to visit him. So we want to, skip out on the ghost visit program. We just need the spiritual master to come and let us know. His guru was, oh God, what was his name? His partner who passed away and was wearing all those chains.
Jacob Marley.
Thank you, Jacob Marley. Yes, Jacob Marley, not Bob Marley, but Jacob Marley. And he was his, Vartma Pradashika guru. He was like, I'm wearing these chains of karmic reactions. I'm suffering so bad. There's no hope for me, but I'm here to help you because I saw your chains 3 years ago and they were already longer than mine. And you've been working on them steadily for the last 3 years. So it's going to be a tough road for you, my brother. So you better change your ways, So sometimes fear is a good thing. It can help us to transform and change our ways. Sometimes it's good to get the shock of our life because we wake up and go, oh my God, I really was just sleeping, resting on my laurels, thinking everything was okay, but it isn't. So anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling again, but thank you, Jamuna Jaya. Maybe one day she can do a whole session for us and we can all tune in. It's really ecstatic. And she's such an amazing speaker, so filled with love and joy and bliss and realization. So amazing. Okay, we got 1 minute. I think I'll finish here. No one's unmuting or raising their hand. Everyone was obviously bored stiff by the talk. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Henry left. We'll see you all next time. Gonna go for darshan now. Panchakalpachubhasya, Kripasindhabhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai Nitai Prabhu Ki Jai.
Gaura's Bhaktas Vrindas Ki Jai.
Shri Arjuna Prabhu Ki Jai. I heard him. Amrita Kishori. It's so nice to see everybody. Bhava Bhakti Devidasi.
It's a full house here today.
Sweet.
Get more than 3 in a room. Like cooking with gas. Let's see.
No.
One way which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to those feet with great awe and reverence. His grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates, and by him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Jai.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Would anyone like to speak? Would anyone like to confess? Sadhvi Didi is confessing, I can tell. Okay.
I have nothing to confess.
Nothing
I'm
yet.
sorry. No. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhvi. Sarah Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, lots of love and respects to everyone. I wanted to say Jai Nitai Prabhu ki Jai, and then the Bihari Prabhu ki Jai. All of the assembled devotees ki Jai. Love all of you. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you, Sarah Prabhu. That was very unexpected. Thank you, Prabhu. Dear devotees, thank you for your association. This is the best Christmas present from Krishna, the Devotees Association. Thank you for tolerating us. Would anyone like to speak? Venu Madhuri, would you like to speak? In line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra?
I would not, but I am thinking of our dear Adi Purush Prabhu and how he would say that he would say what Srila Prabhupada wanted him to say and what Krishna wanted him to say. So wondering how he does that. I think if I tried, what stood out to me from the verse today was those darkest regions of the universe where one goes if one thinks that that sort of pathetic, helpless, suffering entity is equal to God, which so many people do think, and that I myself have thought in my past before Srila Prabhupada so mercifully saved me from that misconception that you think that, oh, well, I'm a spark of God, so therefore I am God. And was just contemplating the darkest regions of the universe and what that's like. And I feel like, if you've ever been really drunk, you can think about like what that feels like, that sort of ignorance. Or sometimes I think about worms crawling through the earth, like how dark it must be for them, and that they are souls that have taken birth in that environment, that you really can't really see anything or can't really feel so much. I don't know how they perceive. I don't know. So I'm just I'm letting it be a lesson and a warning, kind of like Jacob Marley to Ebenezer Scrooge, to really make sure that I don't fall into that misconception and don't think that this little spark of divinity gives me any kind of puffed up notions or misconceptions as to the quantity versus the quality, right? We have the quality of Krishna, but in minute quantity. And I think it's very important to remember that minuteness and to let that fuel our humility rather than getting some puffed up misconception that would lead us to these really dark realms. So I think I think sometimes, I've seen in those who subscribe to some religions that persuade through guilt and through fear, that's maybe not what we're after. We don't want that fear or guilt to be driving us, but we do want it to be motivating us, and we do want to be conscious of the consequences, that there are consequences to our choices, and that there are consequences to misconceiving reality. So we should just be very grateful every day to Prabhupada for setting us on the right path, and our spiritual masters.
Thank you, Madhuri, for articulating it so nicely. That we're driven by love, and fear is just keeping us sober.
Yeah.
Path of devotion. Thank
Literally.
you. Thank you, Madhuri.
Okay,
Sadhu Didi.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for today. What I'm going to ask now is, I'm not talking about only our movement. I'm just asking this question generally. When we do spiritual practice, for instance, church, priest, and so on, and Muslim, mullah, and everything. When we do the spiritual practice and we pray for not to do anything to misplease Lord, but still in middle of the devotional service, in middle of chanting, still we do something that we should not have done it. What does that mean? It means that I have not doing it exactly the way I should do, or I shouldn't listen to it, because the desire, as long as we live, the desire is there. It might be different desire, but still, desire never die. As long as you live, you have desire, right? So when we do practice chanting, breathing, association, devotional service, everything, does that mean that it makes me not to desire bad thing, or that mean that I have to be vigilant at all time? It doesn't matter that I'm doing this chanting, that I'm doing my devotional service, I read and everything, still I might do something that is not right. So I should really, really, really be very vigilant in everything. In that case, the only thing could be the fear that makes us not to do against the practice and so on. Then where comes the love then? Where do we talk about love then? If love didn't stop me to do the bad thing, then it means the only thing is the fear things, right? Or I don't know. I'm so confused, because I get to know things happened and so on, and then it makes me wonder, when I'm in the top of my chanting and practice, how could I do against what I have been learned in many, many years? Not 1 year, not 2 years, many years. Why do I do still something bad? Thank you.
Great question, Sadhvi. I had the same question. I think Bhima has an answer already. Bhima has answers before I even start speaking.
Haribo. Yeah, that's a question we all ask. When we take our vows these days. Back in the old days, you kind of stumbled into a temple, and the next thing you know, you were taking vows that you had no idea how straight and narrow the path is to Krishna. And I think the answer is because this is the science, it's a science, and because it's a science of self-realization, we have to ask ourselves, what is the essential nature of the self, the little s self? The essential nature of the self is anandabayo vishat, always seeking pleasure. So we, the Krishna consciousness movement, our success depends upon, the pleasure. Let's be real, the pleasure of prasadam, the pleasure of singing, the pleasure of the flower garlands around the deities every day, the pleasure of the association of good people, the pleasure of knowing that you don't have to fear dying, the pleasure of actually literally having an answer for any troublesome philosophical, quite frankly, even political issue. We have an answer. It is there. Prabhupada's, if we read them, and the reason why Prabhupada has given us in the Bhagavatam is so important, especially the 10th canto, is because we get the pleasure of viewing Krishna's pastimes, which if we take the time every day, even though there might not be a taste there, it's that old, jaundice. When you have jaundice, sugar candy is not so palatable, but then eventually you taste the sweetness. So Prabhupada said that the movement, Krishna consciousness, is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. So let us head towards the simple. It's the easiest way: eating, chanting, dancing, feasting. Um, chanting 16 rounds is the basics of it all. But if you have trouble chanting 16 rounds, just chant one round. Just chant one round and read a little bit of the Gita or Bhagavatam. Just chant, just read one purport, one verse and purport. Just take literally like 1 or 2 minutes to just find a way. The reason why we can't chant is because we're not paying attention to the fact that the name is Krishna. That we're just simply doing an austerity. We approach it with the wrong mind. But if we read a little bit in between each round, then it stays fresh. We understand why we are chanting. When we say Hare Krishna, we actually have just a moment ago have read something that Krishna might have said or done, or one of his great acharyas said or done. So that struggle is first chanting. And that chanting puts a dome over you. Everyone will attest to this, especially bhaktas who chant 16 rounds for the first time. You are protected. You literally are protected. I've heard it from no less than 2 or 3 gurus, probably Prabhupada as well, if someone can quote this, that Krishna tells Maya to lay off a little bit. When you chant 16 rounds, because you're actually crying out for Krishna's protection. So if you can somehow get 1, 2, 3, 16 rounds in minimum, then you will be protected. That's the first thing. Second of all, always engage in pleasurable activities in Krishna consciousness. That's why prasadam was so important. So it's the higher taste. If you have a higher taste, you don't want to return to the old stuff, that the material habits and conditionings that we have. You don't want to. It's all desire. And this is a process, and that process is the experiment of tasting the pudding, of actually making the pudding and tasting the pudding and sharing the pudding and talking about the pudding. So in my many years in and out of Krishna consciousness, I have always understood that if you're not seeking pleasure, even though we don't talk about it much, we don't say it's not for us, we have to sacrifice, we shouldn't be we're not the enjoyers. No, Prabhupada made sure that everyone enjoyed prasadam. He made sure that everyone was trying to enjoy Harinam and enjoy the deities and enjoy Krishna's pastimes. There's nothing wrong with that. So if we're enjoying ourselves, why would you want to go enjoy yourself with TV or mundane activities? So it's all about the higher taste. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. So to cut a wonderful story short, the higher taste is the process. We develop higher taste, and then those lower tendencies fall off automatically. I think I captured Bhima Prabhu. I hope I did. Thank you very much for the answer, Prabhu. And then still, you chant your rounds, you read the book, and then you go out and smoke a cigarette. Does that mean that you're insincere while you're chanting? Does that mean that there's not enough love that Krishna is sending my way? I know one devotee, he's a cab driver, and he, has this has this habit, smokes cigarette. But he's a good devotee, he's doing a lot of service and all that. And Shyamasundar Prabhu, one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, he used to smoke cigarettes, and he was smoking while he was carving Lord Jagannath. And he would put the pack of cigarettes on top of the unfinished deity. And Srila Prabhupada busted him and said, "Don't, Shyamasundar Prabhu, this is no good. Do one less cigarette a day," he told him. So sometimes you may be sincere in your prayer, and you may still have some old habits, but that's not because you are insincere or because Krishna is deficient in his mercy. It's because some things take time, and some habits, they die off kind of gradually.
Adi has a thing that I adopted a few years back. It's a very simple thing. Is we know that there's certain purifications. There's certain things we're not going to let go. We're not going to learn. We're not going to let go. That's all there is to it. There's certain material. I mean, in as much as we're materially attached, that's in as much as we are ignoring our Krishna consciousness. So the thing is that the thing that I was taught, a very simple thing, is to pray for purification, and get ready to pay attention to what happens. Pray constantly for purification. When you chant Hare Krishna, they say it's a broom. Sometimes it's a backhoe. Something's got to go in deep and just rip something out from the roots. I used to be a tree worker, and when we used to take down a tree, the next process was grinding out the root. And that was a process because you had to go beneath the dirt, and you had to have special machines for it. And you have to go deep, and you have to get all of it lest it spring up again. So we just we find ourselves that this whole process is not to be so worried about it, and to make Krishna consciousness our priority in the day. And if we do that and take each day one day at a time, then it's not such a great feat to make it through to the end of the day with thinking about Krishna and not engaging in activities that will bring us down. Just take it day by day. I have found that's the process that works. Just day by day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vinod Prabhu. Avena Madhuri, are you still here? Your hand was up.
Yeah, I heard the second part of Sadhvi's question to be, and I think Bhima really eloquently answered the first part of it about cultivating higher taste, and then slowly the lower tastes will go away, but desire is always there. That's the nature of a living entity, is to desire. So, but the second part of the question I heard was, do I always need to be on guard? And I can't remember the exact quote, but I do remember His Holiness Radhanath Swami, or somebody speaking about His Holiness Radhanath Swami, saying that even though he's been a sannyasi for all of these years, that he's still very vigilant about everything, and I think it was in context with sort of relationships with the opposite sex, and just being always aware and on guard, and not thinking like, okay, I've been on a streak for like 53 years or something, or whatever it's been. And so therefore I can let down my guard, that you really can never let down your guard against, what Sattvi was talking about, the bad things. My husband's in front of me right now, and he's always tempting me with cakes with eggs. And, I can never let down my guard, because he's always tempting me, and they look really good. But so we always have to be very vigilant, no matter what, no matter how many years we've been, perfect. It's very, very easy to slip.
Oh, if my temptations were of such a trivial matter.
These cakes are not trivial, my friend.
Bhima is tempted by fame, adoration, and distinction. Those are heavy-duty things. Thank you, Venumaduri. Thank you for the example and the explanation. Explaining it so clearly. Thank you. Sadvi Didi, are you not satisfied with the
I
answers?
I wait because I have already asked one question, but I wait for Saurabh.
Sarah Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, lots of love and respect. I was just gonna add, yeah, vigilant, being vigilant, extremely important. And I would also say that trying our very best. So Sri Krishna in our heart knows when we are sincerely trying our very best. If we truly believe in everything that we listen to every day and every morning Bhagavatam class, everything we read, everything we know about Krishna, he sincerely will know our sincere intentions. He's all powerful. So if our intentions are sincere to the core, he will see our efforts to make progress. And so I think that's critical as well, extremely important. If we're sincere and trying our very best, and we move forward and try again and again, that's where magic can happen as well. Haribol.
Thank you, Sarah Prabhu. Bhima Prabhu, is your hand still up? Okay. Sadvi Didi.
My
My hand has got cake in it. Sorry. You let somebody else speak.
Sadvi.
my situation is as such as in somewhat I can understand when a person do such acts like you mentioned about smoking, that the person smoke still very good, but what I'm having tough with is one thing when whatever the act I'm doing hurting only me, but is another thing when could hurt others or hurting others, not only could hurt others, but hurting others. That is what I have difficulty to understand. Why is it so difficult for a person who is spiritually active to take the consideration that, okay, if I can't control my urges to do such act, but I have no right to hurt anyone by my act. That is my problem. You know what I mean? Acting myself, doing myself, okay, I'm going to pay karma for that also because I'm hurting myself, but at the same time, hurting other by my act. This is what I have difficulty to. Why continue? Why can't person stop doing that despite of all practice the person do? This is what I don't answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sadvi. That's a big question. Why do people who claim to be on the spiritual path keep hurting others in the name of their faith? Is that what you're asking them? Yeah, that's a big one, Sadvi. That's a big one. We don't want to spiral down into politics, but yeah, it's a mess, and therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says that karma is a nut, and it's meant. There's no way you can figure it out. It just has to be chopped. Like you have to call for a tree cutter for Bhima, and he'll come with tools, and he'll go underneath the root. That's what it takes. There's no way we can. There's no simple answer to this. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we need an advanced devotee who could maybe, help us navigate through this. But in the meantime, as Srimad Bhagavatam says, let's keep going with our service, and everything will be revealed by virtue of us doing service, reading books, being not hurting anyone in our little purview, in our little universe. Let's start there. Let's start at home. And then we can figure out politics. Okay.
Thank you very much for today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sadvi. Thank you, Sadvi, for every day. being with us every day. Okay. Isaiah, Annabelle, Jiv Jago, are you still here? Karen, family. Oh, Sage is here. Okay, dear devotees, please unmute yourself and chant as loud as you can.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Haribol.
Much. This is the
Thank
real.
you very much.
This is the answer. Ramsi, this is Sage, Annabelle, and Sadhvi, and all these devotees. They're here.
Ram was totally transfixed.
Hi, sweetie. You're so beautiful. Yeah. Yes, you are beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, dear
Thank you.
devotees. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Ram, say bye. Say bye. Say Hare Krishna.
I gave you 50.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Louder, Ram.